Let's talk about building your plyometric base. I think a great place for people to start is with low-level hops, skips, and jumps. And this is a great way for, one, beginners to introduce plyometric training into their training. Two, take an athlete and kind of peel the layers back and really focus on some of the qualities maybe they're missing with their ability to jump and move in and out of things. And there's a couple things I have all my athletes and individuals I train focus on. One, we want to be efficient with how we move. So how do you be efficient? You got to move with some sort of rhythm and coordination in and out of things. It's one thing to be able to just jump and have a super high vertical. It's another thing to be able to move, jump, and have that same type of vertical and be efficient with it. So being an efficient mover, super important. Really what plyometrics is essentially all about is being able to rebound off the floor as fast as possible in an efficient way. So there's two buckets that we focus on with plyometrics, and especially as you kind of introduce them into your training. One, you're going to focus on more extensive type movements. So think you have your pogo jumps, so longer duration, jumping rope, that type of movement where you're focusing on really just the rhythm, the coordination, being able to move in and out of things at a low intensity. And as you feel comfortable, you can really kind of ramp up the intensity, increasing the height of the jump, the duration, the distance you're moving, whatever it may be. Super important to reinforce those elastic qualities and kind of introduce the forces that come with landing and jumping. The second one that we'd focus on are your intensive movements, which are much more, think single jumps, broad jumps, vertical jumps, box jumps, things like that. So you have your standing vertical jump, big jump, land, pause. That's more of an intensive plyometric where you're focusing on a more intensity or more intense movement, lower duration, lower volume. So you have extensive and intensive. Super important, two buckets that I like to have my athletes focus on, especially as they kind of get introduced to plyometrics. And then as you progress, I think plyometric progressions can be kind of a gray area sometimes. With some strength exercises, you have a level 1, level 2, level 3. Plyometrics, sure, you might have those same buckets, but it really is kind of a gradual progression as you feel comfortable and you become more coordinated with different movements. So say you move to, let's go through a standing vertical jump and we're going to rebound right away. So you're here, you might pause and then jump again, and you're focusing on that recoil essentially. But the recoil, as I just did it, pretty slow, right? Here, up. Versus, so that's where you could start and kind of ramp up the intensity, versus somewhere where you might be much more advanced with plyometric movements and you can move quickly off the floor because you have those elastic qualities and you have the confidence that you have the ability to do that. So you're up and then right back up and then you land in the same spot. So and I hope that's a good example of how the same type of movement can be broken down to be slightly less intense and not as demanding as maybe more advanced movements. So for those individuals that want to introduce plyometrics into their training, start with some low-level hops, skips, and jumps. Really focus on that rhythm, coordination, be an efficient mover. And then you have those two buckets that kind of go inside that. Your extensive movements, your longer duration hops and skips, and then your intensive movements, which are going to be your ones and twosies type jumps, your broad jumps and vertical jumps. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. Happy to answer.